the two, you know, two culture at the same time.
Now, we've talked about this on the show before, right? We've got fresh, that's a nice £1.5 lobster, right? And then, you know, we've got this is a female lobster, right? Because it's got soft over here. We want to make sure that they're lively and fresh and they're alert. No dead lobsters going in there. Hard shell, right? All right, Steve, throw them in there. Let's see what we're all about.
While he's cooking away back there, I'm gonna make a seasoning mix with some salt and these spices from your local grocery store.
Yum, that sounds great.
Keep stirring away back there, Reggie.
The chef's in charge.
Cut! Look, Susan.
Steffi,
this food sucks. You guys have no chemistry.
Don't think I forgot about you, Mr. Quinn. I got some nice ham for you, Mr. Quinn.
Thanks, me Carver.
You finish that ham, okay? And then I got some more for you.
And meat carver's pretty cool, man. Sorry, man.
Told you I almost fell off the scaffolding.
I demand that you put that scene back in the film.
Or what?
Or don't put me in the film at all.
Are you crazy? You know I can't do that. I'd have to re-edit the thing and reshoot scenes and...
Then I'll sue your ass.
You can't. You signed a release.
Then I'll kick your ass.
What the amount in our bank account really indicates is how much money the bank owes us. It's a record of the bank's promise to pay us money, not the money we deposited itself. The difference is important. The truth is, when we hand the contents of our piggy bank to the bank teller, our money becomes the bank's money to do with as it pleases.
Cambridge uses dual stream recycling. This means paper products are taken to one facility, while plastics, metal, and glass are taken to another. Products which end up in the wrong stream are often thrown away, so it's important to separate papers from containers.
The Cut It Out Cambridge program trains stylists to recognize and respond to signs of domestic violence. Stylists see a lot of women and sometimes men that are experiencing this kind of problem with their partners, and they can be first responders in this public health crisis.
Creativity, we're a nonprofit, so we're not focused on bringing in money and entertaining like the masses per se, so we have a little more flexibility to be creative and try different shows and things like that.
I think this place just has a really cool
One, two, three, four.
Okay. Hi, I'm Joan Squeri. I'm here today as part of Neighbor Media Citizen Journalist Program. Neighbor Media is a training program for citizen journalists at CCTV, Cambridge Community Television. And today I have a guest with me, Albert Pless of the Cambridge Health Alliance. Albert is the director of the Men's Health League. And we are talking about, today our topic is going to be food films and how they might be used as tools of community engagement around the issue of food and food access, food justice. So we've got 3 film clips, 3 film trailers to watch today. And the first is Soul Food Junkies, which I understand the Men's Health League showed last year. I was in attendance.
We did this with our community partner, the Medical Task Force, definitely.
Sorry, say that again?
We did this with our community partners, the Medical Task Force. It was a collaborative event that we brought Byron Hurt to Cambridge to show the film.
Okay. Byron Hurt, tell us a little bit about Byron and the Men of Color Task Force. Tell us a little bit about how that came together.
Sure. So the Men of Color Task Force has been around for just about 20 years. They're a group of men in Cambridge who are really concerned about the health of men of color, and they, collaboratively over the last 7 years since the Men's Health League was birthed. we've been doing community events around addressing disparities in health of men of color, particularly around cardiovascular disease and diabetes, and we use kind of nutrition, healthy eating, and physical activity as a way to address that.
Yeah.
So this community event that we did with the Medical Task Force around bringing Brian Hurt to this to Cambridge was an opportunity for us to talk about healthy eating and really and culturally how we've looked at eating over the years.
Yeah.
You know, so we're excited.
I was at that event and I was really impressed with the broad range of people who came, and Byron Hurt is also a filmmaker who's famous for another film on hip hop.
Yeah, Beyond Beats and Rhymes, yes.
Right. And the coming together of the community around that film was really impressive. I thought what we do today was take a look at Soul Food Junkies, just the trailer for it.
Sure.
And I thought it'd be interesting for viewers at home who may not have seen that movie to look at it and look at it through the eyes of, you know, is this something that looks interesting, raises questions, can introduce us to a conversation, a wider conversation about food. So let's see if we can get that going right now. And here's Soul Food Junkies. It's going to come to us through YouTube.
You ain't get your fingers greasy, man. You ain't eat no soul food.
You haven't had nothing till you have my black eyed peas.
Came for the fried chicken.
It's comfort food. You know, you eat it and it makes you feel better.
Good Lord, good meat. Come on, let's eat. Hallelujah.
Soul food is a repository for our history, and soul food represents Black.
At the best moments of the Black freedom struggle, when you have organizations like the Black Panthers, they understood the relationship between developing a Black nation and having healthy diets.
In the Nation of Islam, we have referred to a soul food diet as a slave diet.
There's so many mythologies that have accreted onto the idea of what Black people were eating during the time of slavery.
It's almost like you eat, you get big, you go to college, you get your education, you get your diabetes, you get your high blood pressure, and you die.
The most important thing is that people complicate their understanding of what soul food is, because it's easy to say that it's the bane of African American health. The bigger cause of the decline of African American health is the industrialization of our food system.
In this supermarket in my neighborhood, I see vegetables that look like they're having a nervous breakdown, and they're asking people the regular price for it.
In America, there is a class-based apartheid in the food system. And if you live in low-income communities, there's often very little healthy food.
You want to wipe out an entire generation of people, when you want to engage in the kind of 21st century genocide, all you have to do is continue to do what we're doing, which is deprive people of access to healthy food.
What we're doing is an attempt to be able to bring healthy foods into those communities in a number of different ways.
I run my own farmer's market now. Come there, get y'all fresh produce if y'all in Chicago.
It also has to be combined with education.
You cannot really create a culture of advancement if you don't have people who are plugged into the ways that we can promote life.
Okay, so that was Soul Food Junkies, and I think I wanted to talk about some of the reactions with to the film. I wanted to talk to you about the reactions to the film that we witnessed. I'm lost here. All right. I need my Firefox back. Sorry. I wanted to talk to you about the reactions that we had
Sure.
to to talk about the reactions that we had. Apologize for that technical difficulty there, but the reactions that the Men of Color Task Force heard from when we went out to the community, when you all went out to the community and discussed this. I witnessed part of that conversation following the event, but I'm sure you had reactions since and wondered if you had shown the film, other times. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Definitely. So there wasn't a formal process that we had by going into the community, going back into the community, and really finding about just in terms of feedback from people who saw the film or people who had seen the film at some point. But what we've heard, just kind of anecdotes over the last year, is that people are concerned or concerned, but also interested in having the conversation. I think that this is one of those things where people realize that the film brought up the importance of culture, and I think that what we've been trying to do in the Men's Health League is really to make sure that that conversation is a part of when we're talking about healthy eating. We're talking about how people can bring in their culture into that conversation. So it sparked some conversations. It's forced us to look even programmatically at when we do the Men's Health League in terms of our programs, how we're talking about culture. So it just renewed our energy around having those kind of conversations about what it means to eat healthy. And for years, I think it's a challenge sometimes for people to feel like they can bring in their culture into the healthy conversations around eating. So it's just sparked a conversation for us, and we're excited. We didn't show the film again.
Mm-hmm.
But we feel like it's one of those films you can show again, and you can really create some questions, some community questions that can create some good dialogue.
Good. I think that that it would be great to show it a bunch of times, and because I know for me, when I've watched Soul Food Junkies, Fresh, a number of other films that I can think of, and the one that's out now, Fed Up. I think you get it's a layering of information that can be accessed after you've seen it a few times, so that I think in terms of reaching a lot of different people and because people come at food so dramatically different ways, that I think it would be really great to have multiple opportunities in multiple settings around a communal meal, maybe, where people come together, bring food together, and not, sort of in an edutainment kind of way. We come at it to really be together as a community and open conversations around food by eating food together and talking about it, and not coming at it with a prescriptive way, which I think is a big turnoff for a lot of people. I know it is for me. I don't want somebody to come along and tell me, what I should be eating or why I should do this or that. I could talk about food endlessly, as you probably know, but I really like the idea that everyone has the chance to come at food and health from their own perspective, and we have to meet people where they are. We can't change them.
Yeah, I agree. I think some of the best conversations happen over food. I mean, I think, and so when you can have as you call it, communal meal, and you can probably, once again, there's many ways this film could be used. You can take it and kind of slice it up and really take just segments of it and really just have some conversation, and like you said, just have people just share. I know that I know some colleagues of mine, even in Springfield, took the film. They didn't bring Brian Hurt per se, but they took his film and really showed it and created some dialogue around that. So I know that different places have taken it and really created some good conversation around it. The other thing I say is one of the things that we try to do in one of our programs where we have it's really heavily focused on nutrition and healthy eating, is that we really allow the men to share their stories around eating and really bringing their culture into that. So we give them that space to do that. And it creates a lot of conversations, as you can imagine. People sometimes may disagree with how someone may view something as healthy. But I think that's what you said, Joan, around really being able to give people that space to share, and also be able to maybe hear other people's perspective on healthy eating, and from their culture. So it's.
And let people just come and discover. I remember a couple of years ago, I took a group of women from Transition House through the Central Square Farmers Market, and we had so much fun. They had so much fun because we weren't trying to do anything. We were just going around looking at vegetables and talking about them and picking them up, and heirloom tomatoes, and people were explaining it, really exclaiming about, look how ugly these things are, and look how crazy the shapes are, and we don't realize it, but that's how food used to look. Your grandmother's time, my grandmother's time, it used to look irregular. It tasted really, really good. But our food system delivers something that's uniform. We, as consumers, we tell our farmers we want the same size apples, we want the same size tomatoes, and that's what they grow for us because that's what we're buying. So going through a market like that and just and talking with people that I think you and I talked a little bit before the show about food memories that people have, going to a farm, eating a strawberry that's been kissed by the sun, it's still warm. Even if you grow up in the inner city, somebody, either you had that experience or someone told you about that experience, or that wonderful special black walnut cake that that grandma made on Sundays. It was special. We didn't eat it every day, which is, I think, another way that we've changed in eating is that celebration foods. People who have read Michael Pollan know this already, but I think it bears repeating is that we were not intended to eat fried chicken and cake every day. We can choose to do that because somebody is cooking that and making it available for us. We can go buy a great big sheet cake at Costco for only $6. But the question is, is that the same as grandmother's special cake that she made, back in the day that came to the table as a celebration, and I want to eat that cake, but I don't need to be eating, that same thing every day. And we have taken the celebration and the communal wonderfulness of food and made it into, hey, these are great foods, but we can get them all the time now. They're fast foods. We can go to Colonel Sanders and we can get all that stuff. We can get mashed potatoes and we can get fried chicken every day. Should we be eating it every day? Probably not.
And that's why I think a lot of, the importance of health education, really helping people to really understand, the importance of portion sizes and really understanding the importance of, just understanding just really how you can eat. I mean, I think, we just reminded me of the fact that even the Soul Foods movie, documentary, in some ways is based upon this kind of concept within the African American community around soul food, gathering maybe on a Sunday after, church, I think usually in the black community around, eating dinner at grandma's house. And really that whole idea, just what you said around it being a special meal though. And I think that's so important. And going to the health education piece again, one of the things that really we do within the Men's Health League is really take men on shopping trips to the supermarkets, even though we recognize that the ideal places would be the farmers markets and really helping to understand the organic foods, but the majority of these men and their families are eating from the grocery stores. And so what we try to do is get them to learn how to shop, and learn how to read labels. Because part of that understanding around food is understanding what's in foods. And so as we kind of have our dietitian walk them through the grocery stores aisle by aisle, even the layout of the grocery stores, understanding the things on the outside are probably most healthy in terms of the things within the fresh fruits and vegetables and things like that. And so really, we're really proud about the way we've kind of built the health education into our mental health program, and helping them go back to their families and help them the families to really once again embrace this concept of learning what's in our food by reading the labels, and really once again work on portion sizes.
You brought up a great example of something I think is right in the middle of this, and I had a clip of Fed Up, which is in theaters now, and I think that's it brings another piece of this pie to the table. But what struck me when what you said is very often people to know even the setup of a supermarket and what's designed. We all know that they put the candy next to the checkout counter for a reason. You know, we're all smart enough to know that.
Sure.
But only a few people know, I think, that, you know, there's also a design to putting the convenience foods, the processed foods, all the stuff that's not so good for us, that's putting stuff in our plate that you and I did not pick out when we went to buy that pizza, or that we didn't, you know, if we were making that pizza at home, we might do it differently. But somebody else has sneaked a lot of other things, chemicals, additives, stuff that isn't so good for you. So that I think the message, you know, that Fed Up does so well, and I really encourage people to go out and see this movie. It's at the Kendall Square Cinema now. Is it's showing people that we have a personal responsibility, but we also want to make sure, be aware that folks are out to sell you things, and that there's a strategy they have that's very, very well thought out. You may not, it may be invisible to you, but that layout of the grocery store, and keeping in mind that, you know, you want to spend the majority of your time on the outside aisles where the fresh things are, the proteins and the fresh vegetables are. That's where you want to spend the majority of your dollars and your time. And just something that's, you know, helped me a lot is just trying to just think of, instead of trying to think of what not to eat, think of what to eat. You know, instead of saying, oh, I shouldn't have this, I shouldn't have that, think about how many vegetables can I possibly consume today? Can I eat as many green vegetables as I possibly can? And of course, everyone, I think, has heard eat from the rainbow, which is another good thing. Lots of different colors of vegetables. The more colors you can add, the healthier it is. Think in a world of plus instead of minus. You know, think of the things that you can add and the things that are great, going to make you feel great. You know, that maybe you maybe aren't a part of your diet but could be. And don't change radically. Don't try to make a big change. Just when you're making chili, try adding half the meat and twice the vegetables. Just something like that, you know.
Yeah, I agree. And other things that we do, just once again, put in little plugs for some of the work that we're doing. We do also cooking demonstrations as well with our men. And the importance of, once again, adding those things into your meal that you may not necessarily have thought it was healthy, to add some better taste to it. So I agree, trying new things. And some of that, I think a lot of it just goes back to health education, goes back to, unfortunately for us in Cambridge, we have a lot of resources around us in terms of being able to promote healthy eating. We have farmers markets, we have, you know, there's a food and fitness policy council that the city has, really focusing on healthy eating. There's a lot of things, but some communities don't have those things. And this is why it's important for us, I think, to really begin, as we think about these conversations, understanding the conversation we're having in Cambridge could be very different in another part of either the state or even, you know, some other underserved communities. So the important thing, I think, is really to encourage people to talk about what their food issues are. And, you know, it's almost like, I feel like it's a process of being able to slowly get people to begin to drink the water for themselves. I mean, we have to slowly get them there to drink the water, but not literally water, but maybe literally water. But really help them to understand how they can get to the water themselves to drink it.
Yeah.
And that's important.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned earlier, I was really pleased to hear you were talking to the guys in Springfield, because I just came from a conversation with one of the food thought leaders of the state that we were talking about, who lives in Springfield. And Springfield is a community that very different from here in the Boston metro area. And I'm not talking about Cambridge necessarily, I'm talking about metro Boston. But in terms of the activity of food education, it is very grassroots. There are some very clever things being done there in terms of really, which I think happens to be the way that we're going to see change. Is it's going to be grassroots. it's going to come up from the community, because top down is not going to cut it. It's going to really be, and I think Springfield stands out in my mind as one of the communities. It has many challenges, but it has a lot of very active food justice organizations and people who are trying and the public health community in Springfield is very connected to that food community. And that's what I'd like to see us build more of, the food community in Cambridge with public health working together, because I think we've got some really awesome entrepreneurs here. We've got some thought leaders who are doing amazing work in this area. And we don't expect that farmers and public health people necessarily know each other, but we can make that, we can make that happen. And there are a lot of challenges, actually, policy challenges to getting, it seems like it's simple to just get farm food in close to the city. There's a lot of barriers to doing that, both policy barriers and physical barriers that make it hard to do that, that are invisible until you sort of get into it. So I'd love to see more just coming together around in various communities. I'm going to come back and do the other food films that I had wanted to show today. I think are worth us having another conversation at a future time to look at those and then examine a little bit more closely how we might use these as tools of community engagement, because to me that these films all do something different. And getting conversations going, as we've been saying today, I think is the way to go. I'm delighted that you were able to come in today and